Hey everyone, welcome to the John Hallett podcast. I am John Hallett. How's everyone doing out there? You know, crazy world as always. Always be ready for the unexpected. And, you know, I've been looking personally very tiny amount because it just drives me crazy on, you know, our upcoming election. I think the two lead candidates should step aside. I really wish somebody would come out of the woodwork. Two of the people I hoped would come out and run, but it seems like nobody wants to run here that's worth anything. I really feel like we need grassroots, a normal person coming out of the woodwork. And I looked up on ChatGPT what it costs to run for president, and I might be backwards, but I think Trump spent $1.3 billion and Biden spent $1.2 billion on their president, on their election. I think it's crazy. We need to do stuff. None of these politicians seem to make a change, and I think that's a lot because they just get caught up in the system. I think they should be limited to term and total service and just get out and get into the public sector and quote unquote get a real job. Get your job done, whether you're, you know, a senator, congressman. I think these people just need to be limited. They're on there too much. They get caught up in the system. They probably come in with the best of intentions and trying to do things. And I think we need somebody in the middle of the road. We're just polarized. People are trying to separate us. I see people silencing people. I mean, the whole cancel culture and free speech, that is just huge, guys. So it really has me concerned. I really wish somebody would step up out there and, like, you know, you think about it, like, who really wants to become president because of the scrutiny? So a couple of the people I thought would make really good candidates, I don't think they've both been on podcasts and said, you know, Joe Rogan and Jocko Willink have both said they would not run for president. I think they would be fantastic. Joe Rogan especially, because I think he's really in the middle of most topics, most of what we see out there, and people are just being separated. Social media is separating people. You know, I'd love to run a grassroots campaign for somebody. I don't know if it would, you know, get any traction with the grip that the media, and when I say media, I mean social media as well as the big, you know, television media channels would knock that person down. It's just crazy. I think we need to get back to the roots of America and get a normal person in there and then get them out. Let's fix the economy. Let's fix our school systems, the environment. There's so many things that it seems like none of these presidents have really done anything. I mean, there's great things that I've seen from every president, but we're still in a ginormous deficit. They're like college kids buying beer on their credit card. It is insane to me that our deficit is so big. We need to fix this stuff. These people just want to spend more money. It's crazy to me. The recent events with active shooters and these school shootings, they're not stopping. I respect teachers tremendously, being a Krav Maga instructor, and for these teachers to be there all day. I get kids for an hour, and then I get a new group of kids or a different age group. I respect teachers tremendously, but I think we need to look at our school systems and what we may be doing wrong, and going all the way up to the college level. We need to make that more affordable. It's ridiculous how much it costs, but it's also ridiculous that it is so one-sided. We need our kids as students to be exposed to left and right and the middle and so many ideas, and let them make their own decision, when I believe it's 80 to 90% of college professors are liberal. We need balance in this country, and we need people to get their head out of the sand. Nobody wants to deal with it. I work a tremendous amount running a small business, and you don't want to look at it, but we have to, people. We really do. So I'm going to bring in Josh before I start rambling and get really pissed off at the state of this country. I love it tremendously, but we need to make some changes, and I don't know how to do those besides going, hey, I'd run. We need a normal person, but you look at your family and they're going to be scrutinized, the whole thing, and that's a big part of it, people. They just want to make it painful because they want to be in control, and they want to be in long-term control, and I think that's a problem with our politicians in general. Get in and get out. So, Josh, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining me. How are you today?
Oh, I'm good, John. I'm a little beat up from all of your classes, but other than that, I'm doing great.
Good. Good. Yeah, you should be a little sore. Do hard things.
Yeah.
Do hard things. I think that's another part of what I was talking about before I brought you in, that things are hard. I kind of challenged myself to getting up a half hour plus earlier, and I'm getting in my cold plunge 6 days a week now.
You're doing 6 days a week on a cold plunge?
Yes, at 4:30, 4:35, trying to get in there. I feel great. I got to tell you, I was telling one of the guys that also does some cold plunging and into that stuff, one of our 6 a.m. guys, and I was like, it's not getting any warmer just standing there, just like get in, because all of a sudden you can stand there for an easy 5 minutes of trying to convince yourself. And the thing that's been working for me this week or so has been, it's not getting any warmer. Just get in and get to the gym. And I've been doing my IDS warm up before I either teach or train.
That's good.
In the Project Fit class. So I've been feeling good. I told my wife today because, she's like, God, I'm exhausted. I'm getting up a half hour early, but I think I feel better. I'm no more tired at the kind of that, 3 o'clock kind of time where I'm like, now I have to gear back up and get in there where I would really like to get back on my NSDR, non-sleep deep rest that we've talked about on the podcast. I do that to fall asleep, but I'd really like to do that for like 20 minutes
a day.
What's
the advantage of doing the cold plunge before all your workouts? I mean, it's cold, right? So is it there to? I don't know much about the cold plunge. So are you like doing it to get rid of inflammation? Are you doing it to? I don't know. It
has all those benefits.
Yeah.
Huberman, has a fantastic episode. If you want to dive deep into that, I would encourage you to just Google Huberman. Cold plunge. I'm not really sure what that episode is called on there, but maybe I'll find it.
Did you find it's working though?
It increases dopamine release. I feel like I'm more awake. I was doing it in the afternoon, and I find it better. It's out of the way versus, one more thing to kind of do as the day is going. But I based that on the research that Huberman brought in on strength and hypertrophy, that you need like 6 or 7 hours. So I'm like, well, now you're cold plunging and you did a strength workout within that 6 hours. But the research said if you did cold before your workout, it didn't matter because your body's now warming itself back up, and the research on that was positive. So I'm like, well, and they were like, it's minimal, and depending. So I was messing around with my cold plunge days, and I'm just going to do it 6 days a week because it sucks, and it's all part of that comfort crisis. Do something hard, people just as a whole, and I hate the cold, so I don't like it at all. So I'm just trying to get outside of my comfort zone. I feel like I'm better. I do feel better as a whole, whether it's placebo, but there's the data there that it's increasing brown fat. For men, it does have some weight loss, even though that's not really what I'm going for, but I would encourage people to just check out that episode on Huberman.
I like it. You kind of set us up earlier before when you were talking about people running for president and all that craziness. Because I was going to ask you, like, what do you think would happen if suddenly the dollar was like completely worthless, right? And there was no money. Let's say, here's your scenario, John. You have no money in the world around us. What is valuable at that point? Let me preface saying that the last time that there was a panic on stuff, people bought toilet paper.
Yes, it's crazy, right?
Right. So what's valuable? What's really valuable in society when the power of your buying dollar goes away? Because it's a possibility. I'm not saying I want it to happen. I'm trying to be very bullish on this stuff because I really like the world we live in and I want it to stay.
Yeah, I mean, it's
I
comfy.
love my comfort.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I love my pillow.
Yes.
So,
yes. And like toilets that work, electricity where lights turn on,
we've
right?
got some great things, but I think that, the book Comfort Crisis is fantastic. And it's why so many people, I think, are depressed and not feeling fulfilled. And that's why I love martial arts and training that way gets you back to it. So the name, before I forget, Ice Bath and Cold Benefits is what you want to look for on Huberman. Lab. It's YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. Fantastic episode. It's probably it's probably at least an hour long.
They're not an official sponsor, but we love them.
Yeah, Huberman has done a great service to bringing science to the average person and making it digestible and interesting. So I think his stuff is fantastic. So the dollar.
Yeah, what would you think was valuable, though? There's no right answer to any of this.
Yeah, there's no right answer.
So
I mean, I think people are going to freak out, and that's why I think ammo is that's going to be a commodity
have value
there, and not to mention, people are crazy. So training in some sort of martial art is going to make you more prepared. Because I think would get really nasty really quickly, and things people don't want to talk about, and they would rather push it off. But I would rather prepare for that type of stuff in some way. You were just telling me before that generator, this stuff. I think having some good people in your network is definitely worth it. Sometimes you go like, joining, I think it's kind of, I'm like, militias and
prepper
joining
groups.
these prepper groups. Sometimes I'm like, whoa, they might be, it's just back to, I think you're on the extreme side of things.
Yeah.
And anybody on the extreme, kind of freaks me out a little bit.
People have value.
I'd like to have, I have a little bit of food stuff. Even my wife tells me I'm crazy for it.
Nope, you're not. Don't listen to her.
Oh yeah, I'm like, well, you better, if we are, we've got some of those things, but part of my other thing is, if it does go to that, I am going to overcome and adapt, and nobody's taking anything from me, and there's also going to be stuff out there that I think you can really scrounge. I think a lot of people will buy a lot of stuff. I mean, have some good people in your network. I'm glad to have you in my network and a ton of other people here at RMSDF. But you can go and take stuff as well. So I mean, that is always
the value of stuff, though. Let's go from that, because let's say you live in a world now where you just can't turn on the electric stove or the gas stove, right? And you have to burn a fire. So suddenly lighters, I think, would be worth a fortune. You'd be surprised.
Yeah, I think basic camping and basic survival stuff is important to have, that you can start a fire. It's one of those ones that I hate living in suburbia, because I would love to have a fireplace or a wood stove, but you can't. But you could always overcome and make it outside. Or where are you? If, crap hits the fan, so to speak, and the dollar is worthless, it's kind of, how are you accessing, you've invested in golds or whatever people buy, that's always comes up. Well, how are you accessing it? Do you physically have it?
Exactly, right? What do you have in your possession? You only own something if you can use
And,
it. I know
like, is it worth something? It's always been worth something
Mm-hmm.
through millennia, but, it might not be worth anything to me because I need more ammo, and I'd rather have ammo or supplies,
Firewood, water.
that type of stuff. And yeah, water, I mean, that's important. Like having that basic camping equipment that you can filter water, I think is really important. That's something I have, for backpacking. You're like, okay, well, I can filter water, so I'm not too worried about that unless you're like, hey, crazy people
Well,
are
I don't know. You need a couple gallons a day.
yeah, I
You
mean,
know, I mean,
just that basic
the hiking ones are
survival.
great, but you're talking about ounces versus or liters versus gallons,
Yeah, I mean, you can pump. Yeah, it's like how much physically can you do
right?
in there?
Gasoline would suddenly be at a premium. That would be one of my guesses, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So
People
how would
wanted
you?
to get the heck out of Dodge, and the dollar's not worth anything. You can't use your credit card. Yeah, it's. I
It's
mean,
weird, right? You don't want to think about these things, but sometimes you have to because that's why you sit there and prepare yourself, physically, kind of what we do with the Citizen Defender, Krav, and our other pillar, the fitness side. Because, I mean, if you got that, you can at least get access to the others. But it's trying to figure out what is actually valuable starts getting really weird. And people react weird to what they think is valuable, you know? I don't, people are hard to trust. Like most individuals seem like they're really cool, but groups of people are just scary.
yeah,
You
it
know?
definitely. When you put people in different scenarios, and what type of person they turn into. Um,
Mm-hmm.
who is that character and on The Walking Dead?
I never watched the series.
What?
I never watched any of The
Josh,
Walking
now
Dead.
you're fired
I
again.
never
You can't
watched
even quit
Breaking
today.
Bad.
That was a good series. Um, but, the guy was evidently, a good guy, but now he's like in the bad group, and he's, vicious, and what people can turn into in those
Yeah.
situations, and even people going to war and being horrified of the things that they actually did during war. There's some, really good conversations out there on those topics. You never know.
Right.
I mean, I don't. I'd rather like, hey, people, like, let's not get to that point
Yeah, I hope we'd all like
that
come
the
together a
dollar
little
is
bit.
not worth anything. I'm always on the bright side, and you know, I'm hard on myself a lot in business, but I really think, things aren't going to get that bad. Could they? Sure, you want to prepare, but I don't think it would get to that point, at least not,
I'm hoping it doesn't, right? But I just kind of want to pick your mind on that. What you thought would become valuable.
Yeah, I think ammo,
Yeah, that one's kind of a get. Like that one makes a lot of sense. I want to say it's a
guns.
gimme. The other one I was thinking of was cigarettes and coffee.
Oh yeah,
Because
coffee,
people would lose their
liquor would
minds.
be,
Oh yeah, liquor. I forgot all about booze.
that morale booster.
It's crazy, but it's right.
Would be definitely a commodity. There's a lot of, I mean, what's valuable to somebody? They might just need something, a tool to fix something. They
Right,
might
like
need building
wrenches,
supplies. I mean, it
sockets.
goes on and on and on.
Right.
I think that's why I like the Walking Dead series,
Yeah.
but it didn't get too far. I would have, do a different series where people are actually surviving, and defending themselves. I mean, it did get, of course, that show is
I heard
crazy,
that
and
they just had access to a lot. There was always something they could turn into something.
yeah, you can always, you think, what could happen. Let's get off of that subject.
All right, that's weird. Anyway, it was weird.
Yeah, things that happen. People, you just got to prepare yourself because people are crazy. There's evil people out there, and you've got to prepare yourself. Even if the dollar doesn't crash, I really feel like you need to prepare yourself to be able to defend yourself.
Yeah, clearly.
So.
I mean, that's what you sold me on the first day. You're like, "What do you really know?" And then you kind of tested me, and you're like, "You don't know enough," and it was true.
Yeah,
Which is kind
yeah.
of fun.
Most people think they can defend themselves, and they can't. And I think you need to train
Every day.
and do something. And especially, a lot of people just rely on their firearm, but then they don't train with it. And that just goes to like martial arts, like recognizing that if you don't train, you're not really doing it. You can have the intellect, but you actually need to do it. And that goes with firearms. And that's why I love having found IDS where you can train in the gym and do scenarios that just put you to the test. And even just that basic step of, not just clearing, but as Todd says, over clear your garment and access your firearm. Get to position 1 and position 2 and get to full presentation. You need to practice that in different scenarios. I think people fool themselves. And why? God, so many of these people are so smart. But when it comes to different things, they're not. It's just that
blows your mind, right? There's people out there with PhD level educations, and they can't.
You actually have to put in the work.
Change oils, or do just push-ups or a pull-up the right way. Let alone trying to get a firearm out of a holster, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was teaching push-ups the other day to a group in Project Fit.
Yeah.
And going like, look, people overlook these all the time. They think they know they're doing them right. And if you're feeling your front delt, you're first fatiguing, you're doing that push-up wrong. So
really,
people just take things for granted. I always think I suck at things and I try to get better. I want to be a better instructor. I want to push myself. I don't rest on, I got this down. I constantly train, or even if I see something, sometimes I look, I'm like, am I doing that wrong? Am I getting lax on that technique? Because we can all get better. And I think too many people, and especially when it comes to their personal protection, go, yeah. I have a gun. Well, fantastic.
Hey, what's with the push to run in all your classes right now? Like this whole week's been nothing but running.
Josh, stop complaining.
It's running, John. We had this
Do the
conversation.
uncomfortable things. Do uncomfortable.
Boy, was it.
There was no running. I can pull up these workouts. Don't make me
No,
pull them up.
no. It's okay.
Pulling
I'm
them up,
already
Josh.
doing them.
There was running today.
There was running
100
today.
meters. Oh, you got to get
Monday, 100.
You got to get away from a zombie. Hopefully you can run 100
Hey, listen,
meters.
when the zombie apocalypse hits, the fatties always die first.
Yeah.
It's true.
It
Then you got a
is.
bunch of fat zombies chasing you. Is that what you want?
Yeah. So
It was a great movie, Zombieland. Check it out if you haven't watched it.
I don't think there was any running on.
But
There was no running on my birthday workout. There was no
there was just
running.
102 box jumps.
That wasn't running, Josh.
Have you? Your birthday
There
workout
was
was
next
intense.
day, no
Dude.
running, Josh.
Yeah.
There was running on Wednesday and Friday.
And Thursday.
All week. No, there was no running
you
on
sure?
Thursday. It was a Tabata. There was no running.
Why were you making me run?
I don't know what you were doing, Josh. I think you're mixing up your days because you were
Could
sick.
be. I don't know what's going on. I'm sick in the head. I've been told that.
That's a typical people like, we ran all week. That's all we've done.
No, I heard that. We've been running all week, and I was like,
We've
I'm
been
looking
on
at
the
board, like,
rower.
there's no
You just feel
running.
like it is.
So,
Right.
what is it with people not wanting to run? It's like the best workout that's out there. And I'm on the list. I hate running.
I hate running too. I think sprinting's much better. I don't like the pounding. That's why I like the short, like breaking it up. 100 meters. I think the other day was Wednesday was a 200 meter, so nothing huge. I think there's a lot of grounding and pounding with running. It is great. I hate it. That's why I do it. So
Well, that's why I'm trying to adopt it more, because it's the one thing I don't want to do.
Yeah.
What did you find was like the best cardio? If you had to do one thing just for cardio, what would it be?
just one thing.
Yeah, if you had to just
That's
pick
boring
one
as
thing.
crap.
I know
I
it's
couldn't do it.
terrible because you always give us like Jim always. Gives
I'm
us
gonna
a ton.
become a fat couch potato because you just made me do one thing. I'm just
trying to say. Well, what do you?
I'm just-
If you could give, what's your favorite cardio? Okay, what's your favorite cardio exercise then?
I mean, you can make anything cardio. I'm gonna do squat cleans at a real light weight. I love squat cleans. I love hang cleans. I love burpees.
Oh,
I just do that. So, but people hate it. I'm like, God, I'm like, I don't like it. It's gonna make you better. It's gonna make you better. There's so much of fitness. People are like, I don't like it. I'm like, yeah, donuts are way better, but they're gonna make you fat and they're gonna kill you sooner.
So people hate the running the most. I mean, when they complain to you, what do they complain about? And if you've
People
never worked at a
hate
gym,
burpees, probably. I feel like people hate burpees the
I can
most.
see that one.
I love them. I like burpees. Sometimes people don't run, but I'm like, then walk.
Right.
Just
Move.
walk, just move. Who cares? Walking's fantastic.
Burpees
So
are so intensive. I mean, just overall, it's using so much of my body. They fatigue me the quickest. They
what's
really do. A burpee.
oh yeah,
It's just like,
you're
oh,
going from all the way down to all the way
yeah,
up.
yeah.
Yeah, they're great. They're great.
Do you always have the jump on the end, or you? I've seen some people do it without the jump at the end, and then going into the next one.
Yeah, because they're cheating.
What with the jump?
Not jumping. If you're not jumping,
Then it's not a
you're
full
quote
burpee.
scaling it. Some people, sometimes they get tired. Some people don't like. It's just a little bit even more effort. But technically, you need to be all the way down on the ground. Like I say, you can do an old man burpee. I could kneel down on the ground, lie down, come all the way back up from that lying position, come to a kneel, stand up, and do this little jump. Now I met the qualifications of a burpee, all the way down and all the way up, and you jump with your hands up over your head. Some people do, what they, I call an old school burpee, with kind of like that very deliberate hold of the top of the push up and then doing a really good push up. I like doing what I call old school burpees that way a lot, but sometimes I'm just going for speed. It still works my chest, like just dropping, like hitting the ground and just dropping right into that burpee. I still feel like I could get a good chest and tricep workout out of that. But I do like doing old school ones as well and getting a real deliberate. I was telling a kids class that the exercise is king. You've got to hit the qualifications. Actually, even I told my little kindergartners I think I had them do like 10 jumping squats or something, or who's going to get the most? And they're like 14 before I said, I heard one little guy say, and I'm like, I regret to inform all of you that nobody did one actual jumping squat because none of them went down deep enough in their squat. I'm like, you have to squat for it to be a squat. Otherwise, you're just kind of doing a jump up. It wasn't a squat. And I feel like a lot of times people, that's one of my cons on CrossFit is people just get too tied to going fast in the intensity and trying to race the clock. But they forget the king is the exercise, that movement that you have to hit that. And sometimes I do like going slow, really feeling the muscle work. I mix up my training, mix it up. That's a great part of CrossFit. And that's why, I brought it in and, the cons kind of added up over the years is why I dropped CrossFit. Sure. But there's fantastic stuff about it. It's the pros and cons of anything out there when people get too tied into one-dimensional, even though CrossFit tries not to be one-dimensional, but you can still just get into that competition side of it.
The games are crazy. I actually watched some of them and I was like, oh
yeah, those people are gifted freaks.
They are.
I always go.
I mean, some of them were just...
They're Michael Jordans of fitness.
Yeah.
They're unbelievable of what they can do. It's very impressive. But the average person is not that. It's like, dude, you're playing pickup basketball. Mm-hmm. You're not Michael Jordan. So I think the average person can fool themselves. Again, it's back to the same conversation. People fool like, I am doing it. And they're not actually doing the movement. I always tell people, put the video camera on yourself at home and, then delete it. But watch your movement. Watch, the video doesn't lie. So.
I mean, it's really hitting home with me lately about fitness. And I know I complain about burpees, but when you see people as they age not be able to get themselves back up after they've fallen, that's when it kind of clicks with me. Like I'm in that second half of my life, quote unquote. Now I'm halfway through. God, willing that I go.
How old are you?
44.
Halfway through, I guess. Jeez.
I mean, well, with the national
I
age
know.
of 75, that's what I'm going through, right?
Yeah. Yeah, somebody, Tina at 5:30 a.m. Project Fit, who's been with us, she's like, I couldn't imagine starting now at 57. I'm like, but you have what you know and how hard you're working. So yeah, the person you are that didn't do anything forever and then started at 57, you're not the same person. You've got to get what you know out of your head. Mm-hmm. Because you're not going to be able to do what you're doing now if you didn't do anything for the last whatever, even 10, even if she was 47, let alone 37, whatever age. was like, you just got to start. People just, I'm like, does it mean more to you to live a week longer, a month longer, a year longer, to get out and do something that's uncomfortable, to try to just eat a little bit better? People don't want to even look at that. Like, oh, whatever. I don't want to
live
work
better.
out.
It's the
Oh,
quality
you
of
eat
my
like
life.
crap. And I'm just like, well, when the dollar's worth nothing, your house will be there to take all of your stuff. And I hope you were a fat prepper and you got plenty of good stuff that I don't need to spend thousands of dollars on myself right
just
now
walk in and take it.
because what's that?
I'll just walk in and take it.
Yeah, I'm
You'll be
like
stuck there on the
the
ground.
people that just you can't even get in a workout. You can't even like give up pasta for 5 days out of the week or something like that. You can't stop eating all this crap. What are you gonna do when the shit hits the fan?
Yeah. Will you be able to?
You're not gonna make it.
You have a hard time going up the stairs.
So that's why some of the reasons I'm not too afraid. I mean, it would suck. I mean, believe me, it would suck.
It would
But
never
I'm
do
like,
it.
if doomsday hits, like whatever. There's so many weak people, and they have it in there. Actually, I don't know if I kept it. There was a great line in my daily Stoic
Yeah.
today. Even though you have these powers, free, entirely your own, you don't use them because you still don't realize what you have or where it came from. I'm prepared to show you that you have resources and a character naturally strong and resilient. What is his name? Epictetus? I'm pronouncing that wrong.
Yeah,
I'm
I don't
terrible
know.
with those.
Me too.
That came up in my, and I actually saved it in my OneNote today because thought it was fantastic. I'm like, that is so true. You look at, I'm listening to the Audible of not Under, that's Under a Banner of Heaven. That's a book my wife read.
Yeah. I heard it's good too.
Yes, and actually there's a good Netflix, and that guy's crazy. So I'm like, shouldn't even be, Keep Sweet and Pray, or Pray and Keep Sweet on Netflix. That guy's, oh my God, the last one just made me want to go to jail and go and kill him for raping, quote, is what I would say, raping young girls and quote, marrying them. And it's just horrible. I'm like, that he's still alive is
Kind of
a
wanna
disgrace, but
read it.
it's Empire of the Summer Moon. Fantastic. And they talk about some of these kids that were taken prisoner by the Cherokee and you name it, because it was just part of the culture there, that they talk about finding one of the Parkers. I'm going to forget her name, but a very famous. I was like, oh, I know that name from history. And they talk about like looking for them, but they find her actually. And she doesn't recognize, she doesn't speak English anymore. She's just totally, from an 8-year-old on, she remembers seeing her father killed by the Indians, but now she just wanted to go back because she had her husband was killed in one of the battles, but she wanted to go back and see her boys that I believe were possibly killed in the battle. She just wanted to go back to that culture. So people adapt quite easily, and so many people have the
especially if they're young.
power and the resiliency to go on. And she seemed more happy, and actually the book talks about like she might have had a better life than some of her relatives that were really well off like back then. And this is like probably 1800s, 1850s, I forget exactly, terrible with numbers, but that resilience, people have it, but they don't want to bear down and do something hard. They just want to stay in their comfort zone, and the world is way too comfortable, I think. And I think that's a big problem.
Yeah, it's all easy around us.
Yeah,
Everything's easy.
depression.
Food's
These
easy.
kids, we wonder like, oh, these kids, like, oh, it's just all too easy.
Well, I mean,
And I know it's hard. Like, I think I tell my wife all the time, I could be a better parent. It's difficult with the world we live in. It's really difficult. I'm like, if we just went and lived off the grid, you could teach your kids. It's just so hard.
it's a different mentality. Yeah.
I'm like, I mean, it's ridiculous. I could see some kids down the street from the gym yesterday, and some of them had scooters. A couple of them had, and they were like the moped kind of scooter, and then a couple had electric bikes, and because they're all fast. And then the one poor Castle Rock kid had a regular bike. I was like, Jamie, look at the poor Castle Rock kid. They have a regular bike. That was probably, it's probably $1,000 bike. But these kids, I'm like, they can't even freaking pedal around anymore. Those e-bikes drive me crazy unless you
wonderful.
physically just can't pedal, and getting that person out, or you're elderly, you're doing something, then yes, get out and do a little bit. But these kids zooming around my neighborhood, I'm like, pedal, work out.
It's all easy, John. It's easy food.
It just drives me crazy.
It's easy communications. We've never been in a time where it's not easier to talk to somebody. Your food it's easy to cook. You throw something in the microwave. I mean, electricity and heat are easy, right? Going where you want to go is easy. Going to school is easy, right? For some people, going to work and just sitting down all day in front of a computer becomes easy, right? Everything in our culture and our society has become easy. That's been the whole push. And now, we look around and we see all these people who easy equals weak.
It really does.
I mean, when the body starts to go, the mind will follow, right?
Yep.
And that's what you experience, especially as being a gym owner, because 99% of what you do is trying to convince people that they need to do something that's not easy.
Yeah, or it's uncomfortable.
Yeah,
like,
that's the other one.
It hurt, but the more you get into it, you're like, oh, that muscle burn, it's that, testosterone. Actually, Huberman has a great episode on testosterone, which we all need out there. And I was just telling Big Tom this morning, I'm like, what do you say? What do you think about aminos? I'm like, well, I use the BCAAs, Intra from Prestige Labs. I use the Test Boost, which is good for guys and girls, and the multivitamin and the hormone optimizer and the pre-workout. I'm like, I feel a ton better. I stopped taking it all. I feel a ton better on that. So, sometimes you got to supplement. But
I was really shocked how well supplements worked after, because I'm working out more than I ever have, because I'm around, well, the more I'm around you, the more I have to exercise and stuff, which is part of it. But realizing how it actually aids in recovery, I didn't really notice it until you're really putting in the work, how much those supplements help. And that's what I've been really blown away by. Just some of the recovery drinks from Prestige that we've got out there.
Yeah, they're great. The Fit Aids are great recovery. Those are fantastic and quick and easy and convenient. But some people don't even want to meal prep. Like, I meal prepped my favorite meal of the day, especially like fasting, is always breakfast, is eggs, bacon, and potatoes. And I was off because it was my birthday weekend, and we got home from the mountains late, and we're dealing with our baby chicks, and I didn't meal prep. So I've been a little short of time, because now, the week got cut off, and I'm like, oh, great. I did a little bit of meal prep on Thursday, and now this morning that I make my potatoes, and if you reheat them, they're lower in glycemic index if you cook them and then reheat them. Yeah. I learned that on Huberman. I'm not that smart.
Because I love potatoes.
Yeah, so it lowers the glycemic index. I have potatoes every day. But I meal prep, where people are like, oh, I'm like, just cook a little extra. Or usually on Sundays, sometimes I'll have to switch it, for camping or whatever may be going on. But getting that done, cook more chicken, overcook the chicken. My wife is a fantastic, it's probably on our band app, paleo parmesan, chicken parmesan, which is spaghetti squash. And I'm like, if you just really cook it, if you undercook spaghetti squash, I think it's gross. But
Yeah, but
if
when it's
you
just
cook
right,
it
though.
in spaghetti sauce, like it's fantastic. And she's got paleo bread in, like what she does to that chicken is fantastic, and it's paleo, quote unquote, even though, that there's a term, people, I'm not doing paleo. People are, I don't know. I hate to say there's fantastic people out there, but it's just so easy to make an excuse.
It's
And
so easy to go to that drive-through.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
easy.
it's
You just talked.
easy. I mean, I
You
go
said
back
it.
to
It's
like,
easy.
hey, being a parent and a business owner, and I'm like, God, I could be a way better parent. I try to do my best, but when you look at the, kids and being hard on them and different things, I just try to lead by example. That was something my father and mother did. They worked hard, but I don't ever remember, well, they did, there was lessons there. I would say they ever did something, but the biggest thing was they set the example. They worked hard. And that's what I try to do. Like seeing the kids, like, yeah, I work hard for what I have. And when somebody's like, great, they're with us on vacation, and you got the person like, you look really good. What do you do? You're like, well, I work out all the time.
right.
People are, everybody's got a little bit of vanity in them. Everybody wants to look a little bit better, but it makes you feel good when somebody's like, yeah.
Oh,
But
yeah.
the kids see that, like, that just didn't happen. You didn't just work out for a month. It's a lifestyle, and people just they just want to look good for an upcoming wedding. Drop a couple pounds and then back to it.
Right.
I don't know.
If they just stayed
It's
on the
crazy.
path, though, it would have been amazing.
Yeah,
What they would have seen.
what? And just that living longer, that's been my big focus the
Living
last bunch
better.
of years here. I just want to live longer. I want to be strong and healthy. I want to be like one of our old members. His dad got hit. I forget at what age, but a car went off the road and hit him because he says he died brush cutting his property. And you're like, oh, the old guy, he was doing a brush cutter, a handheld brush cutter. That's hard work. And you're like, oh yeah, I can see that. And he's like, he got hit by a car. A car went off the road and actually hit him. You're like, oh, it's tragic. But you're like, he was a beast of a man. And this guy's the same way. Like, he works out. He's fantastic. So
Yeah.
you just got to do something. And people wonder why I'm sick and I'm dying. I don't want to feel like I left anything on the table. I tried my best. I tried to eat healthy, try to see grandkids if that, is something that's in the future. Who knows? I just want to be out there and do things. I worked my ass off.
Yeah, you want to enjoy it later. Yeah.
Even though I say I'm like not going to really retire, but I'll definitely won't be, the 60 to 80 plus hours that I'll do here running a small business. And oh yeah, sometimes I might work. Well, I never just work 40 because I think I teach 40 hours of classes. I don't know, I have in there, but 40 hours seems like a freaking vacation to me. Doing what I love, but I love it so it doesn't seem as, working for the man kind of mentality. I'm doing something I love. It's satisfying. So,
Yeah, you don't technically work a day in your life if you do what you love. So.
You got anything else good for me? I know you had some questions, but we got to wrap it up here soon.
I just want to say, you always say it's for extending your life, but it's also good for that quality of life, right? You want to live a long time, but you want to live well.
Yeah.
And that's really what you inspired me. It's like, you want to live better. And I was like, yeah, it's true. I want to live better. So that's what I have.
Yeah.
So thanks for having me on, man. I'm going to jump off here and let you wrap things up.
All right, Josh, thanks for joining me. All right, everybody. A little bit of everything there. My wife loves when Josh comes on. She thinks it's better. And, I don't think I'm the best spokesman or speaker. I try my best. It's something with the podcast I'm trying to get better at. But I really wish somebody would step up, and we need somebody to make a change in this country. if you've got an idea, let me know. Um, it's a crazy, I don't think Trump should run, and I don't think Biden should run. I don't know. At the state of this country, we need to make a change, and I think it needs to happen grassroots. But I'm really afraid, like Josh said, I would hate to see it to be something tragic and the dollar losing its value, people dying because there's no toilet paper, let alone no food. So, I mean, it's a world I don't want to think about. Will I prepare for it? Sure. I feel like that's what I do as a martial artist, all the time. So I don't know what the answer is, but I think we need to limit these politicians as a step in the right direction. There's a lot of things that we just need to take care of. And as a business owner, I'm like, you need to get them done. I don't think these politicians are real. They just get superficial shit done, and they just spend more of the taxpayers' dollars. So, I don't know. Somebody's got to be out there. The people I'm seeing don't want to step up because being that spotlight is horrible. But people, America, we need to make a change. We need to make a change. It's got to be something other than what we've been doing. It's time for a change. These politicians are just making millions, if not billions, by being politicians. They need to get in there and do the job of the people. And I feel like so many of them go in trying to do that and making a change, but they get caught up in running for re-election. Forget re-election. You're not getting re-elected. You're going back out in the private sector is what I think should happen. You get in there, get the job done, and let some other people get in and continue making progress on everything that we have as a fantastic country. But we've got to improve it. Otherwise, we can't go into debt to the Chinese. There's an algorithm. Oh no. The Chinese are going to shut us all down. We can't be dependent on them. We need to bring in, I've got a great plan for illegal aliens. We need manufacturing in this country. There's so much. I think some common sense. Every once in a while, I'm like, we need the common sense party for these freaking Republicans and freaking liberals, Democrats, crazy, there's crazy on both sides. I think there's so many of us that are in the middle. So if you get some ideas, I'd love to have you guys comment on any of our platforms. That would be fantastic. Share this to a friend. Do they have an idea? Get the message out there. All right, guys, I am John Hallett. Stay positive out there. Something I try to do. I know I am hard on myself, but that's just to drive me, and I'm hard on my students. A lot of times that's just trying to make them better because there's so much easy out there. I am really a positive person. I'm always on the positive side of the glass is half full. So, hey, do something good out there this weekend. I know this podcast is coming to you guys late off our schedule, but I'm sick of schedules. I'm sick of Josh telling me what to do. He was sick this week, so we are a little bit behind, but it's a fun side project, this podcast, but it's not billable hours. So, hey, tell a friend about RMSDF. We need members to support this podcast so I can do the fun side of what we do here, because the rest of it is just like, your job, most likely. It is a grind. And I thank Josh and especially Jamie for being there for me. You guys are awesome. I appreciate both of them being in my lives, but when it's a competition, I'm probably going to pick Jamie over Josh. But I know I'll get some death stares at some point from Josh, but oh well, I like Jamie better. All right, guys, he's going to cut that out of this episode anyways.
No, we're leaving it now.
Where'd you come from, Josh? Are you looking in the background running this podcast? I thought
here,
you were
John.
out. See, I know you're always lurking. You're always lurking.
I'm still here.
I know. You're supposed to edit it. All right, guys, I love Josh too, and he had a fantastic birthday message for me. I greatly appreciate that. Since you're still listening, Josh, you're like a stalker. You're my stalker. All right, guys, I'm out.